Hi, this is Katie Weeks, your independent, close to my heart maker. And today I'm here to share with you the Pinterest layout challenge as part of the Myscrappylife Stay-ca-tion virtual crop. And here are some of the pictures that I want to scrapbook. They are a bunch of the flowers from around my house this year. And I even planted some lavender, which was new for me. And so I went searching Pinterest and I thought the Hello Darlin, I could maybe make it work. You'll have to see how I alter this color combination in just a minute. I actually used this lavender blend, tri-blend marker, and I practiced recoloring some of the flowers in there. And I pulled in one sheet from Cherish. It had a sage diagonal stripe on it. And I went looking through my Pinterest board and I found this great layout from Tina Lovell. Now she sells some phenomenal workshop kits and you can find the Pinterest link in the description below. And you can also find her website. It's scrapbookworkshopkits.com. And I have that linked below as well. I reached out to Tina, and normally she doesn't allow people to scrap lift her, but she granted me the privilege of scrap lifting her for this virtual crop, for this one layout. This is just one layout in an amazing workshop kit that she did for Hope and Kindness a little over a year ago. So the first thing that I did my own measurements for this, and I just tried to mimic what she did. Now Tina actually had several strips going down the left and right side of this layout, but I actually did my own, and they were 1 1/8 inch wide, and I wanted to make sure they kind of mirrored each other as far as how the stripes looked. And I think I achieved it here. Looks pretty good. And I'm going to make the base of my layout on white daisy. And this is where I'm going to come in with my T ruler and my lavender blend marker. And I lined these strips up on my Versamat, and I just went down 2 different thin stripes on each of those strips of 12 by 1 1/8 inch. And I got a pretty good equal mirror look for the 2 sides of my layout. Now you might not see me in the Zoom room as much during this crop because I have a pretty full weekend. And as you watch this post go up, my son has just gotten married and we are getting ready for the reception right now. And so I thought, well, I can record this ahead of time and still post it for you guys and let you see what a teacher enjoys on her summer vacation for the part when I'm not traveling, and that part which is actually a staycation and I'm just around home. One of my favorite things to do is go to a local place and cut fresh flowers so that I have them for inside my house. But I actually enjoy having a lot of flowers around my house and on my front porch and up the trellis and on my back deck. I just like to be surrounded by flowers. And I don't plant a lot of blue flowers, but from the road, the purple gives off that red, white, and blue vibe. Is kind of something I like. And so that's why Hello Darlin seemed like the perfect paper pack for me. And so I'm going to go ahead and put these strips down on the 2 sides of my white daisy layout. And then I'm going to look again at that pin and how they had things laid out. And I think the best thing I can do is cut down that sage striped paper. It's like a diagonal stripe from Cherish. And these were cut to 12 by 4 or 4 by 12 for the left hand page and 3 by 12 for the right hand page. I could tell by looking at the pin on Pinterest that the left side had a wider strip than the right side. So I mimicked that and put that down. The next thing I wanted to add in was a brighter color. And so I looked through the papers and I thought that that candy apple red with the star print would be perfect. And so the right hand side looked like it had a very thin stripe, and so I cut that one at 3/4 of an inch by 12 inches, and then the right hand side had a wider strip of paper, but it was shorter. So I cut this one to just over an inch and a half. It was probably, I know you don't want to mess with 16ths, but it was probably 1 9/16, and then it was 10 inches long. Now, I don't know that my papers line up exactly like Tina's, but hers was a good inspiration for me. And then the last strip of paper on each side was that bold print. And I really wanted this floral print because of all the floral pictures to be my bold print. So, again, the left-hand side of the page was shorter, but I cut it at 2.5 inches by 10 inches, and the right hand side was, I think it was a little bit longer, but you don't necessarily see the full length. But I cut mine at 1 by 10 as well, but you really couldn't see the full length of it on the right hand side, but you could see a bit of the mirroring as I put things down. Before I adhered this bright floral paper, this is where you might have seen at the beginning, I kind of experimented with our different tri-blend markers that had purples in them. And the one that absolutely looked the best with my pictures, I thought, was the Lavender Blend, and specifically the lightest shade of that Lavender Blend. So I went through and colored the lightest flowers on all of them on both strips of paper. And then I did touch just the very few of the tiny flowers that they had that looked, I don't even know what they're called. They look like some sort of bell. I should probably know what that flower is, but it's just a tiny one. And I did some of those as well, just to make sure it was tying in. But these little touches of the Lavender Blend marker made such a huge difference of tying the layout together. I'm so glad that I retouched some colors. I had seen a video that Chelsea Very Smarty, I don't know if I said her name right, but she had went through and made Storybook use a bright pink instead of, I think it was like paprika or something, and it totally changed the whole look, and I loved that. So that's what gave me the inspiration to go in and change my coloring on my papers. So the next part after I got these basic pieces down was to go through and decide what size and where I was going to locate my pictures. Now I still went with the basic concept of 2 4x6s on the left, a 4x6 portrait on the right with 4 more smaller ones. But I didn't follow exactly the same way that Tina did those. So this one of the lavender growing in my backyard, I cut down to 3x3. And then this one I cut down to 3x4. And it still kept in the flowers that I wanted in there. And then I just love this picture of my geraniums with the sun shining through. What you don't see in this picture is when I was taking it, I was hearing a buzz. There was a hummingbird right on the other side of it. It was just the most breathtaking thing. I don't know if I've gotten quite that close to a hummingbird before. But that one was 3.5 inch square. And then these next three, I'm going to use a flip flap. I'm trimming down to 4x4. And I really liked this one of the Peace Lily on my front porch. You can see the home sign on the left that had my block O for Ohio State. And you can see the welcome mat that says, welcome to our home, Buckeye fans only. You can see some of that welcome mat. And I just loved how that looked in the red and how it picked up on the candy apple red in the layout. And I should tell you, the reason I really liked that star print on here, you don't necessarily see stars anywhere, but on my front porch by those geraniums that are hanging, I usually have the American flag. So the stars on here might not necessarily go for what you would put on it, but for me, it was perfect because out by all these flowers, a lot of times you'll see my American flag. Okay, so next I'm going to cut my mats, and I'm cutting them on the lighter side of the Sapphire cardstock. And I'm cutting them 4.5 by 6.5. I cut 3 of those, and then 4.5 by 4.5. I cut 1 of those, and then I had a piece left over, which I'm going to use with my title. That was 3 by 6.5. So those were the pieces that I used in the light side of the Sapphire. Next, I come through and I started cutting the sage, and I used the darker side of that. And I cut these, and then I went back and I recut some of these. So I ended up doing them 3 3/4 squared, 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, 3 1/4 squared, and then to double mat 2 of my pictures on the left, I cut those at 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. I had 2 of those. And then I also had left over a piece that I will use with my title section on the left. That was 3 1/2 by 6 1/4. And let me tell you, I used up every square inch just about of these cardstock. I did not have too much waste left over, but the title block and the 2 landscape 4x6 pictures on the left hand side will all be double mats. And then everything on the right, the biggest pictures are in the Sapphire, and the other 3 small pictures are in the sage. So that was different, I believe, than my inspiration pin, but I just kind of liked it with mine, and it worked for me. So do what works for you. I really liked it just because of how they laid on my particular layout. The next thing I did was I used the light side of candy apple, and I ended up backing a couple of these acrylic pieces from the Hello Darlin embellishment set. So this embellishment set has both candy apple acrylic pieces and then sapphire paperboard punch out pieces as well. And so there's a lot of stars and fireworks and different things in there, but I pulled out the flowers because that's what went well with my layouts. And so I kind of matched some of those up and backed just 2 of the roses. And now I'm going to start assembling everything. The PML card that you see used as my title says Home Sweet Home, which I think was absolutely perfect for a staycation if you're staying at home. And it came from the Stars and Sparklers PML card set. And so it was a little bit from, I don't think it was on White Daisy. I think it was more of like a French vanilla in the background. But I think some of the pictures tied in with it enough that you didn't really notice that it wasn't the stark White Daisy like the base pages. And then I'm going to go around and just start embellishing. Now you'll see some of the embellishment here on camera, but you won't necessarily see all of it on camera. But I kind of play with the acrylic pieces and the paperboard pieces, then I come back and I start doing my pictures. I added one 4x6 flip flap and one 4x4 flip flap. So I like to put my flip flap down if I'm going to cut my protector. I like to put that down first and then burnish it real good and then add my picture on top so that I don't have to put that adhesive directly on the picture and you can see more of the picture more clearly. And so I lined that picture up underneath and then I decided how to mount that with just a little bit. I keep adjusting it. I want just a little bit in that top right hand corner of that floral print to show through. I colored all those flowers and you can barely see any of them now, but just a tiny bit of that purple is peeking through between some of my pictures, so that still works. Now this one I decided after I started going that I wanted it to open sideways and flip to the right. And on Tina's pin, on Tina Level's pin, these two picture squares kind of overlapped. So I overlapped them with my flip flaps. Not only is that 4x4 overlapping the 4x6 a little bit, it just covered a tiny bit of the picture, but the flip flaps I also had overlapping. And when I had it overlap the picture, I don't really think I covered much at all of the flowers. I think they were roses going up a trellis. So I made sure that you could still see those really well. And then I go and put on my geraniums. My geraniums I love. I have like 5 hanging baskets of geraniums and then 5 rail baskets with geraniums and other flowers on them, and that's all across the front of my house and wrapping around to the one side. And those are like my favorite flowers to get every year right around Mother's Day. So now I start kind of layering these pictures in, tucking them just a little bit, one overlapping the other. I tried to make sure I didn't put my adhesive all the way to the corners that way, or all the way to the side. That way I could still tuck as I wanted to, because I knew that this kind of was a cluster of pictures and you wanted to be able to tuck in and kind of weave them together to some degree. Now this one, I told you my geraniums are my favorite. I made sure I popped this one up with some 3D foam tape and it kind of put it even with those flip flaps, but it gave it some dimension and I really liked that one popping above some of the other ones. And then here we go, back to the acrylic pieces and embellishment pieces. And I'm trying to decide how I'm going to do my clusters. I put my clusters in a little bit different places than how Tina had hers, but I still achieved that visual triangle. So I made sure that on the right hand that you see, that's in the top middle and bottom right. And then the left hand is kind of like just below center point and clear over to the left. And it was with that title little area on my title page. So here I kind of fussed with some crochet thread that's Sapphire, and I bunched it up with some mini glue dots and then just used my scissors to shove it down underneath that popped up picture that had the 3D foam tape underneath it. And I kind of like how that turned out. And I had 2 little clusters and I decided the first one just wasn't enough. And so I just added both of them together and then fluffed them up and got the look that I was kind of going for. And so as I am finishing these, what I decided to do was bring in my liquid pearls and also some stickers from the Hello Darlin sticker sheet. So I had I don't think I actually filmed when I put the stickers on, but it was one of those things like I had listed it on my supplies and I'm like, I don't think I used it. And then I'm like, oh, we could still add it and I can still color some of those flowers with my lavender blend tri-blend marker. And so that's what I did. And then I came in with 3 colors of liquid pearls. I love, love, love liquid pearls. And so I used Lavender Lace, Sage, and White Opal. And I put like 9 dots up the left-hand side and then 9 dots down the right-hand side. I don't know why. I just did. And I really liked it. And then I added the dots around each of my embellishment areas. And then my hardest thing is to walk away and let it dry. But if I don't, I always get my hands in it. And then after they dried is when I came back in and added some of those stickers. So I really kind of took the inspiration of the 7 pictures and the basic layout of my papers, my designing papers, and how I wanted to cluster the photos. I took all of that inspiration from Tina, and thank you so much, Tina Lovell, for letting me scrap lift you. And I hope you guys will go check out the link in my description below and see some of the awesome workshops she puts together. Here's a quick look at what I saw on Pinterest, and you can compare it now to my take on Tina's layout. So make sure you check out her website. I hope you like how I have switched it up and done my own thing with Hello Darling. I love how it turned out, and I love how the pictures clustered together. Make sure you go to your Pinterest board, find something that you can duplicate, and post it to our Myscrappylife group. Now I'm going to go mark my bingo board from Moira's challenge last night and her alphabet challenge from this morning. How many things could you mark out using your Pinterest challenge? Please give me a like, leave a sweet comment, and subscribe to my channel. Have a great day.